Well, hello and welcome to another Crew Coffee Convo with Drew and Jake. Great to have you guys together with us today. Hey, one question: is this our last Crew Coffee Convo with you, Drew?
This is the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure out what we'll do in the future. I hope these have been helpful, and what an incredible just journey that we've gone through the book of Mark. Today, we're in Mark chapter 8, verse 27, all the way to 38. Hopefully, you've already done the discussion guide. You've worked through this, not the discussion guide, the study guide. You've worked through that, and you're ready to kind of get involved in this conversation. There's some pretty significant things happening. There's some... it's a conversation about who Christ is. And in our own just journey and walk with Christ, this is a really, really important question that we have to answer for ourselves, but also you guys need to answer as well. And Jesus asked this question, who do people say that I am? And people say, well, some people say you're John the Baptist, others say that you're Elijah, other prophet. But then Jesus asks the disciples, who do you say that I am? How does Peter respond, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, that question right there is the most significant question in any of our lives.
Yeah.
And the way Peter responds, he responds in the right way, and he says, you are the Christ. In response, he's like, this is who I know you to be. You are the Christ. You are true. We've walked with you all these years, these few years while you've been with us. So how you respond to that question changes everything.
Yeah.
Who do you say that I am? Who do you say that Jesus is? And some people, like it says here, some people were saying he was Elijah, some John the Baptist, but you are the Christ. That's what he was going for, and that's what Peter said.
Drew, how do people view Jesus today? Like, what are some answers that people could say, and why is it so important for us to answer this correctly today?
Well, I mean, even next door, their answer is very different than ours, and that leads us to very practical differences in the way we live. And some people answer that as like, well, who is Jesus? Well, he's like a provider. Like, he's supposed to, keep me healthy, wealthy, and wise. Yeah. And
he was just a good prophet.
Yeah, or people say like he wasn't God, like he was a good teacher, and then so like if we relegate him to that means he has no effect on our life. But if Jesus really is the Christ, if he is the Messiah, the one who was predestined to take away all of our sin and to save us and to lead us and to bring us into heaven, like if he really is that and that's what we believe, that's going to have massive implications on our life. And I think that's kind of the way the rest of the passage flows. Like they come to this realization that Jesus, you are the Christ, you are the Messiah, and it has massive ramifications for their life.
That's good. So students, this is so important. Who you say Jesus is. Think about that. Do you believe Jesus is God? That is going to change your life. And it changed the life of these disciples.
For sure.
And in an incredible way. They struggled. They had moments of failure. But in the end, it was not only life-altering for them, but the answer to this question turned the world upside down.
It really did.
And so let's go further down. So first of all, what's the first implication of when we say Jesus is the Christ? Jake, I'm going to have you go off on this one. Yes. 31 to 33. What's the first implication that when we say Jesus is the Christ, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, Jesus actually kind of clarifies what that means that he is the Christ. Because up to that point, he was a great teacher. He was the one who went around healing people. And I don't think all of the disciples actually knew the extent of who this was.
I mean, Jesus was awesome. He was giving free food out. He was healing people.
He was walking on water.
Yeah, right.
This was awesome.
And all these little snippets, they're like adding to their knowledge of who Jesus is. Yep. But then Jesus just drops the bombshell on him.
He does.
He says, what this actually means is that I'm going to die and rise again 3 days later.
That's That doesn't seem right.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't seem right.
Well, especially not that he didn't just say I'm going to die. He says I will suffer many things and be rejected. And so it's like, it's not just like I'm going to die. It's like I'm going to suffer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and Peter takes him aside and he starts rebuking him for this.
So why would Peter rebuke him?
Yeah, he was rebuking him because he thought maybe he was gonna be a great leader still to rescue them from the Romans. He wasn't sure exactly what this meant that Jesus, or that he was the Christ fully, but he was rebuking him, saying like, no, I don't trust that this is the best way. Like I think there should be a different plan in place.
You know, that's interesting because I think we can do the same thing. We can all say on the outside, yeah, Jesus is the Christ. Jesus is the Messiah. He's God. I'm going to follow him. But then when the plan of God in our lives doesn't match what we want for our plan, just like it didn't match Peter's plan for Christ, we get a little upset.
And we actually kind of can do the same thing, and we take him aside and begin to say, no, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
We start reasoning with
Yeah,
him.
like
I'm supposed to actually have this.
My life was supposed to be better.
yeah,
And when we say that Jesus is the Christ, we trust him with our lives. And we really say, God, your plan is best. Why would we say God's plan's best?
Well, we've seen through 8 chapters that he is powerful and he is unbelievably loving. And so if he's orchestrating every situation and he's doing so from a position that he loves us, like whatever happens is going to be best. So we got to trust him.
And ultimately, our life is not necessarily for our best, but it's for God's glory. And it's for the glory of Jesus Christ. And that is what happens when you say, Jesus is God. But there's also a second implication that I want to look at.
Yeah.
Drew, work through what's going on here in verses 34 to 38.
Well, so
Welcome back to part 2 of our crew coffee convo today. We had a little bit of a camera situation. It died. But,
that was the situation.
But let's pick up where we were leaving off there. We're in Mark chapter 8, verse 34. And I asked you, what's the second implication of this section? And
I think it's that like following Jesus means total surrender.
Yeah.
If he is the Savior, if he is God, if he is the one who will deliver us from our sin, then he is worth giving up everything for. And not only is he worth that, like he commands that. He says, if anyone will come after me, and he has this command, let him deny himself and take up his cross. And I think so many times we want to follow Jesus as long as it's convenient, and following Jesus isn't going to be convenient.
Right.
Because denying ourselves, like denying the things that we want, that is so anti-American right now.
Right.
It's so anti the way we think.
Right.
But following Jesus isn't convenient, but it's worth it. Because he just said, I am the Christ. I am the Son of Man. I am the King. I am the one who delivers you from your sin. And if you want to follow me, like we have this option to follow Jesus, like that's nuts. It's worth anything we can give up. And then he actually, I feel like, gives these proofs of it, because like what does it profit you if you gain the whole world and forfeit your soul? Like if I am Jesus, you gain nothing by leaving me.
yeah.
And like, what are you going to give in return of your soul? And whoever's ashamed of me and my words, like I'm going to be ashamed of them. We have this unbelievable privilege of following Christ.
Yeah.
And it costs denial of ourselves, but that's so worth it.
You know, Jake, what are some things that really could tempt us to not do this? Like why wouldn't we want to do this?
Yeah. Well, I think oftentimes we have misconceptions. Say like, okay, if I follow Jesus, that means like I'm never gonna have any fun. So we're like following all these things that we think are gonna make us happy.
That's right.
All like oftentimes it's possessions, and we're following possessions, following the almighty dollar.
Yep. The American dream.
Right, because we think that that's going to make us happy, but in all reality, the most important thing, the thing that's going to make us the most happy, the most satisfied, is Jesus. is denying ourselves, taking up our cross, and following Him. And He's not saying that like He's not saying that because He wants all of us to live like a miserable life. He's saying that because like that's what's best for us.
And you know what is the miserable life? Is if God just lets us fulfill our passions and our lusts. And I can tell you from my own experiences of conversations and counseling, living a life seeking to satisfy your own lusts and desires and hopes and dreams only leads to dead-end destruction and pain. And yes, there is a dying that takes place to follow Christ.
Yeah.
It is a death to self, to say, I'm going to live for Jesus Christ. But you try to fulfill the dreams, there will be a death that comes, and that will be a painful, hurtful death, and there will be scars that will reside. And so what an incredible passage. You guys have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I was thinking of like, why else is it hard to follow Jesus? Like, what's inconvenient about it? And I was thinking through some of his commands are just really inconvenient. So I'm kind of an introvert. And so when he says to like love other people, I'm like, it's tough. Like, I feel like some of the things that he's called us to walk with him are hard. And it takes self-denial. It really does. But I always just come back to like, it's such a privilege to be able to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's what's got to be better than than the hardships and the inconvenience that come. It's like, it's going to be difficult to follow Jesus, but just being able to walk with him is far better than the drawbacks.
It's good, guys. Incredible passage. All stems from this statement. This statement that we can really gloss over. Just read over and think, oh, ho-hum. I am the Christ. You are the Christ. And Jesus is God. He is the Messiah. And we must give him our lives and we must submit to his plan. Well, speaking of plans, we've got an incredible camp out coming up August 21st to 23rd. You might not have noticed this, but in front of us is the griddle.
This is not our normal table. This is a griddle.
This is a griddle that will actually be pumping out pancakes and burgers and eggs, and this will be.
It actually preheats them.
Yeah,
right on.
It will
delicious.
be incredible.
Them out.
And so make sure you sign up. If you want, contact me, and we're going to be having an incredible time at the camp out, the crew camp out, and there might be
coffee camp out.
Well, it will be the crew. There probably will be coffee for the staff, and
it will be a camp out.
It will be a camp
Will there be
out.
convos?
There'll be combos.
Convoys?
No. So it's going to be a great time. Sign up, and hopefully you enjoyed this crew coffee combo today. Talk to you later. Bye.